This video is pretty urgent if you are an Ethereum holder or a Bitcoin holder and you need to know what is about to happen to the price. Are you going to be able to buy at this price, or should you wait for later on? I'm going to talk about some macroeconomics of what is really going on behind the scenes as well, and what is driving crypto to go to lower and lower prices all the time. Now, I showed you yesterday, guys, this is a nice demand zone for Ethereum. What that means is basically this is a good position to look to buy, because in the previous times we can see that we had aggressive pushes up and we came down and we wicked into this area, showing that there was accumulation happening in this zone. But as you can see, we've pushed lower than this and we've started to be rejected even further towards lower levels. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily, you can see there's a wick here, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're guaranteed to be coming down here, but it's looking more and more likely that we're going to shift into this area again, which again is the ultimate pretty much demand zone for Ethereum, because at these levels we know time and time again we've seen solid levels of accumulation. But what is happening on the US dollar index is so important, and it's because this is Ethereum versus US dollar. So when Ethereum is against the US dollar, if the US dollar goes up, Ethereum will fall, Bitcoin also will fall. More volatile assets. When the dollar's strong, people don't need to take bigger risks, they can just invest into the dollar. We've seen interest rates coming in for the US dollar, which in the short term is positive for the US dollar, despite months and months of everyone telling you that Bitcoin and everything is going to rule the world because of this crazy inflation. We have had crazy inflation in the US, but the rest of the world has also seen crazy inflation. Interest rates are kind of a shorter term solution to try and dig themselves out of a hole that they've created through overinflation, through COVID, etc. But the problem with high interest rates is people can't now pay off all the money that they owe, because now they have the same amount of money coming in, but now their outgoings are increased, which is just going to cause more and more pain for the US economy in the longer term. And ultimately the crypto world is looking far stronger for it. In the short term we have a little bit of pain, but the long-term gain is enormous. So guys, this is zooming out on the weekly to the US dollar index. You can see this is back 2002. We've not seen levels this high since 2002, but jumping into the 4-hour, things are looking a little bit shady for the DXY. DXY is basically the dollar index, takes into account all of the US dollar pairs. And you can see before we had a lot of exhaustion coming in here. We've come back up to retest it, showing more exhaustion literally in the last 4 hours, and we're starting to see this potentially happening here. If we lose this zone through here, then we're going to be looking at the US dollar basically taking a fairly aggressive shift towards the downside, because the same as crypto, guys, when something comes up so aggressively, eventually it will fall. And this is what we've basically seen in crypto. You know, crypto's been falling while this has been rising, and ultimately we're going to see potentially something like this play out. Then the crypto bull market is going to absolutely tear up. Let's jump back to Ethereum, see what the most likely scenarios are happening in the Ethereum price. The reason I'm talking about all this, guys, is because everyone is talking about endless indicators of what happened before and what happened again. The difference is right now, and crypto is different this time, and everyone's telling you it's different, but they can't really explain why. It's different now because you have institutional players in the game, while everyone thought that that would make things amazing, and potentially down the line it will, because there'll be much more money coming into the market. The problem you also get when you get institutional investments is you get the institutional and banking games. Someone needs to lose for them to make money, and ultimately we will be the people, if we're not careful, who lose for them to make money. So they're going to play games like pushing prices aggressively down into these demand zones like we're sat in right now. And if we can see back before, we had this demand zone here. Now, how do I know this is a demand zone? We ripped out of it, came back for retest and back. Guys, these are zones, they're not solid lines. We ripped this across and look where we're sat right now. Why I'm being so keen on being very careful about, one, not shorting the market right now, but two, waiting too long to try and get involved in this market is pretty dangerous, because when you see these rips like this, guys, they happened so quickly. From around the 11th of January 2021 to literally a month later, it went up 112%, and then you can see what happened afterwards. Yeah, sometimes it comes back and retests, but not always, so we should always be looking to accumulate in these lower down zones, not just waiting for lower and lower prices. Even if it went down to $614, I'm still going to be happy that I bought in this area now, because I still believe that it's going to be worth significantly more than it is now in the future. If it gets to there, I'm still going to make like 170%. So don't need to be too greedy, guys, in order to make money in crypto right now. Far easier to make money through these big market cap coins than it would have been, let's say, back in November, but you would have been happy buying back then. Okay, guys, so what we can see happening right now on Ethereum, I did have this is my supply. I did have this as a demand zone. This is a 15-minute chart, obviously, guys, so depending on when you watch this, it may be a little bit out of date. But you can see we've bounced up and we've started to turn previous lines of support or areas of support and now turning them into resistance. And now you can see it's starting to move further towards the downside. I think relatively short space of time, we could be looking down again towards the $877 level. Now, $877, I don't mean exactly around that level. What we often see, guys, is a push beyond these zones. And I want you to think about why we would see a push further beyond the zone. And I want you to be careful about how you react to that. If it loses this line of support, then it's going to continue to push further and further. But I want you to think about what is actually happening in this zone and how that should affect your decision. In this area is an accumulation zone. It's an area which the banks, etc., are trying to buy at. Now, if they can't fill their order in this area, like they couldn't fill it here, they have to come back to the area again to fill up more for the guys who maybe missed out on the initial opportunity. The best way to find people to sell it to you if you want to fill up orders is to create the idea that it's going to continue to dump further. So the way they do that is they push below this last wick, below that zone. So don't be surprised if you see a quick push down to something like $800, because that will trigger a lot of stop losses on people who had long positions from here, and all of those stop losses will effectively just flip into sell orders. That will all get hoovered up by the big institutions and then rip towards the downside. So if it drops below this low, guys, do not go and try and short it, because in my opinion, you're going to put a short in and it's going to rip you a new one. So be very cautious of what happens in that zone. Guys, I recommend going and learning more about supply and demand trading, because it will really up your game if you're into day trading, and just if you're interested in the wider game of what's happening in crypto, especially now we've got institutions jumping into the space. If you've enjoyed that video, smash the thumbs up button. Thanks very much. And if you want to, and you want to be kept up to date with the latest happening in Ethereum and other cryptos, then smash the subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow with another video. Bye.